And here we go. So thank you for accepting the recording. Oh, and I lost all of our pretties. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. Quick, scribble all over it, make it pretty. Normally I don't record this first bit because it's a lot of me vamping. And so we're gonna quick do some collaborative coloring. It's always fun to be able to rinse, repeat. This is an opportunity for us to correct our mistakes, maybe do things a little bit differently, and also challenge ourselves. I know that I sometimes struggle to be as precise as I would like when I am signing my name at the grocery store on their pin pad. This isn't, my most professional medium when it comes to my personal creativity and artwork. But we'll give it another 30 seconds. And then I'm going to take a screenshot. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And everybody smile. Especially those of you off camera. Thank you. I hope I have found that even if I'm taking a picture of somebody's back and I tell them to smile, they will still. So I'm going to clear all annotations and ask that you stop drawing. And then we are going to move on to our next slide. So thank you all for being here. This webinar is Fostering Friendships or Fall into Friendships. It's our monthly webinar in this series. If at any point this isn't serving you, no hard feelings. Please feel free to leave. But also if at any point during this webinar you need to take care of your personal needs, make sure to do so, because I know that we all live very busy lives. And sometimes Zoom is just not what we need. But if you do go to the bathroom, please turn your camera off, mute it when you're in the shower, those things. Thank you. And feel free to use the chat and take notes. But my name is Bryn Lottig. I am one of the co-founders of the Kikori platform. My partner, Kendra, is a social worker. She was practicing in the Chicago school districts when we met, and I was a challenge course director. And I was working with kids at a challenge course in northern Wisconsin. And what we found was that her students needed the things that I was providing on the challenge course, but they needed them in the classroom. And so we set out on an entrepreneur venture of building a platform that took a lot of activities by different authors with different perspectives and different target points or lessons that they were trying to teach. And we created a database that you could search and access at your fingertips to try and get more experiential education into classrooms, as well as more kids out of classrooms, with that understanding that we can teach social emotional learning through adventure or activities as a medium. But I'm loving telling you about me, but I want to learn more about you. So if you could remember that annotate feature, throw a stamp on the map and tell me where you live, and put it in the chat too. Where do you live? Where do you work? What sort of clientele are you working with? And then I want to take this opportunity to give my own personal land acknowledgement. So I live in northern Wisconsin, and I live, work, play, and recreate on the ancestral lands of the Lake Superior Chippewa Indians. And they stewarded the land long before me or my relatives got here. And recognition is just one step in the journey. And so I encourage you to learn more about the native lands that you are on, and to incorporate place-based facilitation. I think connection to place is something that is very important. And so what place-based activities do you use in your educational practice? How do you connect to local culture and tradition? And so I'm excited to hear that from you. Where I live in northern Wisconsin, it's wild rice season. And so we are currently harvesting wild rice. It's a native tradition, and it's a very long but beautiful process where you have to harvest the rice and winnow the rice, but then it sustains you for a long period of time. And it is the harvest season. And so celebrating this time in the area in which I live. So Irina is from Latvia and lives and works in Egypt, Cairo, which I'm sure, Irina, those are very different cultural traditions than the ones that I experience in northern Wisconsin. Different continents, different climates, all kinds of things. And Fratisha in Mississippi, charter school in Clarksdale, great. I love that. So thank you guys for sharing. Judy's in Nebraska at a K-12 school. It's in Michigan, public school. All right. So public schools, charter schools. Irina, you didn't say what type of participants you work with. I would love to hear a little bit more about that. And Judy, you're just placing yourself over in China? I don't know. It's so great to have you guys here. I think that professional learning communities are so much more rich when we have a diverse group of participants to talk to about school psychologists working in a private language school. All right. So yeah, that perspective is going to be a little bit different than, a K-4 school, or even, working middle school, and Judy's with K-12. When I was in my local public school, I was in K-8. But then a lot of the students and participants that I work with at Camp Manitowish tend to be middle to high school, or even college students. So I had a college program just this last weekend. So I'm going to clear those stamps and move on to, oh, nope, still annotating. Clear all drawings. Then the trick is you have to close the annotate toolbar. Otherwise, every time you think you're clicking, you're actually marking on your screen. So, fun fact. All right. So today's agenda follows the experiential learning cycle. And we're going to flip it a little bit. But typically I like to try and play first and then reflect on what we did, connect it to science, and then grow our teaching practice in an intentional direction. However, with the format of this particular webinar, we're going to do some content first. But regardless, this is my invitation to you to choose your level of challenge during this play shop. So camera on, camera off, microphone on or off. We are a small group, and so I do invite you to use the chat, or it's okay. I am happy to have an intimate conversation. Sometimes the chat is unavailable if you are commuting and it's easier to unmute yourself and be a part of the conversation. You are welcome to do so. If you have not yet, I'm going to leave this screen up. This is an opportunity for you to download Kikori. If you already have Kikori, can you type in the chat, like, have it, got it? And then maybe even, unmute yourself and say, like, a level 1, 2, or 3 user. 1, you're brand new. 2, you've used it a couple of times. 3, get out of the way, Bryn. I should be teaching this workshop. Right, Fretisha's a 1. Love it. All right, so if you don't have it yet, that is quite all right. It is free to download and free to use. And we can go back to this part later. But we are going to dive right in. So, Haley, get your camera on. Jump right in. So again, the focus of today's webinar is fostering friendship or falling into friendship. I'm not sure for international if the school year mimics ours that it does in the States, but we just started. And so my kids have been in school for 3 weeks, and friendship is a really big thing. And so research shows that student-to-student rapport significantly impacts the learning process. So student-to-student rapport, peer-to-peer friendship, building trust ensures that they contribute to the classroom by setting social norms, expectations, and community. I am also very acutely aware that this was the draft version of this slide deck and not my final one. So you're going to give me grace because we all make mistakes, right? We are all a work in progress, and it gives us room to grow. But yes, normally the title would say something different. But peer-to-peer learning really influences some of that peer-to-peer engagement. So what I would encourage you to do is to create an environment where there is good peer-to-peer relationships, is create space or time in your day where the students are able to teach one another. Perhaps it is sharing a skill, giving them a stage for a few minutes, either planned or unplanned. I've done 1-minute speeches where they get 10 minutes to plan a 1-minute speech, and then they speak about something that they know uniquely. Or we do like a talent show, or even something simple like cooking or knot tying. But when they can demonstrate proficiency in a skill, their peers will view them in a different way and see that they have something to offer in that relationship. Also, practicing gratitude daily helps one another see each other in a different light, to force them to find the good in every person. It builds compassion and trust. An example could be drawing a name on a popsicle stick or on a piece of paper, and that is the line leader of the day, that's the student of the day, but everybody has to write them a warm fuzzy. So maybe today we draw, Fretisha's name out of a hat. And so then every single one of us is going to write something nice about Fretisha, crumple it up, and put it over there for later. And then the next day, I'll draw a name, and all of us are going to write something nice about Judy. And the next day, all of us are going to write something nice about Irina. And the next day, Carrie, and then Haley, until everybody has a turn where the whole class has written a gratitude about that person. And it forces the students to not just think about their best friends, but to find the good in each individual person in this structured activity that practices gratitude. Additionally, And this is hard to do in this environment, in traditional education, where it feels like every minute of our day is competing for an academic structured time or a transition time or this or that. And it's really hard to allow downtime. But downtime or supervised unstructured time is where authentic relationships happen. What I have seen with my own biological kids is that they come home frustrated, that anytime they are sitting next to their friends, they get in trouble. And so then they're separated from their friends, and that just makes them want to be by their friends that much more. And then when they finally are by their friends, they're that much more rowdy. And so what I have said is, as a mom, I need to schedule more unstructured play time for my students to be with their best friends. But if we as educators can create that time, it's lunch, recess, but allowing them to choose where they're sitting, allowing them who they walk with down the hall, then perhaps you can balance it with the time where they have the assigned partners, they have the assigned seats. But when we don't allow for that downtime, there isn't any authentic relationship building. Maybe even, like 10 minutes at the end of a lesson where they can play cards with a person of their choice or something else. But in conclusion, student to student rapport is just as important as instructor to student rapport. And we say all the time, connection before content. But peer mentorship has an incredible influence, and it relates to their academic performance. Practicing gratitude as a daily ritual is a way for people to build authentic compassion for their peers. And then downtime, whenever you can find space for it, when you provide the appropriate structure so that it isn't destructive, is where authentic relationships can be built. So here is an activity that will help you do this as well. In addition to the ones that I mentioned, there's also some activities that we have that I pulled aside specifically for this, and eye contact tag is one of those. And so eye contact tag is where you have everybody choose a partner. And this maybe round one, it's a partner of their choice. So they choose somebody that they are inherently comfortable with. And now one person is it, and the other person is being chased. And to tag the other person, they have to make eye contact. So this is a mingling activity, and you can ask them, hey, what space do we have available to do this? And make it brainstorming. Make sure that they feel included and have autonomy and choice in creating the boundaries. If we say, hey, let's play this in the classroom. Okay, how do we do that safely? How do we all make sure that we're doing it together safely? And perhaps it's like, oh, we should push the desks out of the way. Or like, you know what? This classroom's not a good place to play this game. Can we go out to, the playground, the foyer, the cafeteria, the gym? Where's another space where we could play it? Or yes, we can play it in this place, but we're going to have to walk. Yes, we can play it in this place, but we're going to have to, something. So see what their ideas are for that modification. And then once the boundaries and the routine is set, the idea is that they walk around, and you can't just look at the floor or just look at the ceiling. But if you make eye contact with your partner, then the other person is it, and you have to spin around 3 times and then go find each other. So what ends up happening is many partners are playing simultaneously together, all looking at people, but they're all making eye contact with each other. And there is research that shows the more we make eye contact with another person, the the more positive associations we have with an individual, the more likely we are to trust them, the more likely we are to be safe with them. So brain scans showed that when you were in they put somebody in an MRI and they flashed a bunch of faces, but they put some faces in and they repeated them, whereas other ones were unique. And what they found was that people's brains became more relaxed every time they saw the familiar face. And now they weren't somebody that they knew, it's just somebody's face that they had seen already in this cycle. And the more they showed them that face, the more their brain associated it with somebody friendly. And so the more we can encourage eye contact, and we see it a lot these days, is that students really can struggle with that if they don't feel trust or safe. And so as we are trying to foster new friendships, we can play eye contact tag, and they don't even know that that's what we're doing to them, right? So level 1 is somebody that they're friends with. Level 2 can be somebody that has similar shoes as them. So it's a non-threatening pair, but it might not be somebody that they would have chosen on their own. And then level 3 can be somebody that maybe they've never had an opportunity to have a shared positive experience with. So then level 3, they are self-identifying somebody that they don't know that well, or maybe aren't that comfortable with, but we've already done the first 2 levels. And so level 3 opens up that safe space for them to create a positive shared experience. And this is non-threatening because there's no physical touch. They don't have to divulge or share any vulnerable information, but they're still tricking their brains into creating this shared positive experience because of the eye contact that is creating new synapses in their brain. Oops. Oh, goodness. Okay. Because we're being vulnerable and we're talking about safe ways to take risk. Hey, Haley, can you tell me what other activities were on the playlist for this month?
Sure can.
My other version of this deck, but this is the one I didn't finish. And I'm worried if I X out of it.
That's okay. So for our October playlist, would you remind me the title? Is there a title?
Fall into Friendship.
Okay.
Fostering Friendship. I thought they were on.
Got it. So we have Tiny Teach, Handshakes, Mingle, and Morphing.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fun. The other thing that I can do is I can new share. And I can new share. And we'll come back to this. Haha. So now you guys are seeing my actual phone. And so we said handshake mingle. So what I'm doing is I'm typing in handshake as one word. And so here is handshakes as an activity. And you can see here, there's prep, play, and then reflection questions. So the prep talks about the different types of handshakes. And so this is a great, again, partner paired and mingling activity. And there's a couple of different handshakes. And I like to do this one often with a story. And so please make this your own, because kids can tell if you're being inauthentic. There's no better authenticity detector than a kid. And so what I say is, I'm like, hey, I work in Boulder Junction, Wisconsin, and Boulder Junction, Wisconsin is the muskie capital of the world. And the muskie is short for muskellunge. And muskellunge is this huge freshwater fish, and they're ugly and ancient. They're like the dinosaurs of the fish world. So I want you to find a partner, and that's going to be your muskie partner. And you're going to do a handshake, and the muskie handshake looks like you're slapping fishtails on one another's forearms. And so they will do the musky handshake, and there will be some giggling. And sometimes I can give them a discussion prompt. If I want to work this into maybe my ELA lesson, I can say, hey, and now I want you to discuss the character traits of Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird. And I will let them do that. And that is their musky partner. And then I will say, okay, Boulder Junction, Wisconsin is not that far away from Hayward, Wisconsin. And Hayward, Wisconsin is the lumberjack capital of the world. And I went over there to see the lumberjack competitions. And so I want you to find a new partner, and they're going to be your lumberjack partner. And what the lumberjack handshake looks like is somebody is going to do a thumbs up, and the next person thumbs up on top, and you cross cut saw like you're sawing a log. Only when you have two people, there's four hands. I only have two to demonstrate with. But and then you have your lumberjack partner, and your lumberjack partner, perhaps you give them another discussion prompt. Say, hey, what were the climactic events in that book, To Kill a Mockingbird? And then I will say, and I went down to Chicago to go shopping for Christmas. But the thing about Chicago is it's called the Windy City, and people are always in such a rush in big cities, and they always have warm things in their hand. And so they say hello sometimes on the go. And when you pass somebody on the street, you go to say hi, you high five, but you miss, and then you end up shaking their foot. So you grab their heel, you miss the high five, and you shake their heel. And that's the Chicago handshake. So then that's their Chicago handshake partner. And in the app, there's a bunch of different ones in addition to these. And what I love to do is to set up a group to have these partners, and I will revisit these partners throughout the day, the week, the month, the year. And if I need them to partner up, I can, hey, go find your musky partner and practice your math facts. Hey, I want you and your lumberjack partner to do this thing, whatever it is. But then you have partners, and if you set it up or plan ahead, and even if you don't, because everything, you can make mistakes and you can create new iterations. But with those partners, okay, well, I did the musky partners first. And so the musky partners are going to be ones that they're really comfortable with. So I know that maybe those ones are going to be a little bit more rowdy. But if I go to their Chicago partners, because you can't double up on partners, perhaps that one, they'll be a little bit more calm, they'll be a little bit more reserved, perhaps it'll be more of an academic relationship. But if they are dysregulated and they need a friendly, maybe I can go back to one or the other. Some other fun ones are a butterfly handshake, where they come in and they link thumbs and they create a butterfly that flies away. There's because I live in Wisconsin and we have cows. Somebody is the cow and the other person milks the cow. There's a jellyfish handshake where you go to pound and then you become a jellyfish. So there's lots of other ones, and I would love to see have any of you guys used handshakes? What sort of handshakes have you guys done? Any success, failures? All right. I have not turned notifications off on my phone, and so you all have to see some of the text messages I'm receiving. Things want to be approved on my family link. And so another fun activity that can help create those peer-to-peer relationships where people are able to create the foundations of good friendships. We talked a little bit about teaching one another a skill. There is an activity called Tiny Teach, in which, I'll share my screen again, in which people partner off, and you can just continue to mix up the groups. Maybe say, hey, why don't we do a Tiny Teach with our Muskie partners? And certainly please adapt it to where you live. If in Cairo, Egypt, you don't have muskies, please don't say muskie partners. Instead, maybe some other Nile River fish. But Tiny Teach is something where in small pairs, you give them a time limit to teach one another maybe a party trick or a piece of trivia or a joke or a talent. And again, every activity has step-by-step instructions for prep, for play, and then for reflection. And so reflect on every activity. And when somebody else teaches you something, what happened, why did it happen, and what are you going to do about it next? And really, so what adjectives would you use to describe your experience learning something new from a peer? Were you surprised at all during this activity? A lot of times kids are these like beautiful diamonds in the rough of really cool skills and trivia and knowledge, and that they are just waiting for somebody to shine the light in the right direction for them to shine. And so they'll teach each other things that it'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were double jointed, and I didn't know you knew how to play the oboe, and I didn't know you had this joke that was so funny. But when they have this opportunity to share it, it can be really surprising. But then also ask, what about this activity helped you to feel more comfortable with your partner? And name it, be explicit with the implicit, because that is how we develop social emotional learning skills. In the activity, everyone had a unique skill that they got to share with others. What other unique traits do you possess that you want to share with the group? What is a skill that you want to learn and develop? Maybe something that you want to grow in that you're not ready to share yet. Maybe one that's physical, one that's personal. And then moving forward as a group, how will we make sure that skills and talents that everyone has is shown off and appreciated? And so this little opportunity where we give students 15 minutes to share something with a single partner can turn into a big group discussion saying, how as a group can we move forward to make sure that skills and talents that everyone has are shown off and appreciated? And that's so powerful and it's so big. But after this activity, they'll have bought in and they feel like they have ownership over this. We've reduced that barrier and created an opportunity to develop that discussion. And then the last activity on our playlist is called Morph. It's also known as evolution. And this is a really fun one. And it's a great one for breaking down barriers and laying that foundation for a friendship. And again, you don't have to touch each other. You don't have to say any vulnerable information, but it is a rock, paper, scissors game. And so everybody is going to play rock, paper, scissors with other people. And there are levels. And in here, we talk about what the potential levels are, and you can make it easier or harder. You're the facilitator, there's no rules. Also, you can try it and then change it and try it again a different way if something fails or doesn't work. But you're going to play rock, paper, scissors, and everyone starts physically as an egg, and you're going to squat down as an egg. And then if you win, you become a chicken. And eggs can only play rock, paper, scissors with other eggs, and they only become a chicken if they win. If you're a chicken, you can only play rock, paper, scissors with other chickens. If you lose, you go back to being an egg. If you win, you become a dinosaur. And so dinosaurs, they stomp and they have big claws and arms, and dinosaurs can only play rock, paper, scissors with other dinosaurs. And if they lose, they become a chicken, and they can only play rock, paper, scissors with other chickens. But if a dinosaur wins against another dinosaur, then here it has a superhero and they pick a power pose. I've also played where there's another level, which is a rock star, and you can have them like strumming a guitar, banging on the drums, or even being Beyonce was really trendy for a while. So I don't know what Taylor Swift's signature thing is, but I feel like everybody's like a Swiftie now after the Eras tour has gone through. And then the last level is a superhero. And once superhero status is achieved, once a superhero, always a superhero. And so if you are a superhero, you cannot not be a superhero. And so everybody's going to be playing rock, paper, scissors, and it can be a little frenzied, and it can be very entertaining as a facilitator to watch all of my students waddle around as eggs and try and find each other. The goal, I will tell them, is the goal is to get everyone to superhero status. And there will be feelings. There will be people who will continually lose, and not on purpose. But I will tell them, what does a superhero do? What do superheroes do? Feel free to toss it in the chat or unmute. Tell me, what do superheroes do?
They support their community or build them up.
Yeah, they help people. And they help people. And so what a superhero can do is, once a superhero, always a superhero. They can go and they can help their other fellow students, their classmates, their peers. They can help them achieve that superhero status. And how they do that is by losing. Now, sometimes that conversation is really hard, because like, have you ever tried to lose rock, paper, scissors on purpose? It's really hard. Have you ever tried to win on purpose? Equally as hard. But that is 100% what I love about rock, paper, scissors. And I will tease my kids all the time, because I'm like, who stayed up late last night on YouTube watching rock, paper, scissors championships? Whose parents sent them to summer or to sleepaway camp to do a rock, paper, scissors camp? And they'll be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that's because there isn't much for strategy or theory or skill development. It doesn't matter how good you are in athletics or academics. Everybody is equally as good at rock, paper, scissors as everybody else. It doesn't matter like who your parents are, what you've got at home. Everybody can play rock, paper, scissors the same, because it's rock, paper, scissors. And I've tried really hard to lose on purpose, and I can't. I've tried really hard to win on purpose, and I can't do that either. And so, but what is special about this game is in Morph, because you can only play with people of the other morphing evolution that you are. I ask them, hey, how many of you had an opportunity to play around rock, paper, scissors with somebody that maybe you wouldn't have chosen on your own? Well, why'd you do that? Well, I had to because of the game. Okay, well, what were the consequences? What do you mean? Like, was there, well, no, it wasn't that bad, or I had to, and if I wanted to win, I had to do it, or whatever. It was like, yeah, you guys all usually in the tenure of the game have an opportunity to play rock, paper, scissors with everybody else to no detriment. I mean, whether or not they have cooties or they're not their best friend or whatever. But again, it's that opportunity of making eye contact, of layering shared positive experience around shared positive experiences that builds the community of our classroom, of our team, of our crew, of our group, whatever. And there's no negative outcome. And the thing that's so special about the way that this game is played with the superheroes is that it's not elimination style, that people aren't out and that nobody loses, that the game can be framed that the goal is for the whole group to achieve superhero status. And so how does everybody do it? And you can talk, hey, what would happen if the people who were superheroes just stayed superheroes and didn't help people? Well, then they're not really superheroes, or it's selfish. And what is the goal? Well, I stated that the goal was to get everybody to superhero status. And just like when we're learning skills in the classroom, some people are going to get it faster than others. And sometimes it might be luck more than skill. But in this classroom, in this community, our goal is to help everybody achieve whatever proficiency it is. So our goal is to have everybody achieve, proficiency on their math facts, proficiency in spelling, proficiency in reading, or periodic table memorization, or whatever it is. But when you frame it as a communal goal, and that some people are going to get it faster than others, but they then have that responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. I mean, that's right from Tobey Maguire's mouth as Spider-Man, is that, then they've got to help their fellow team. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to teach social and emotional learning skills along with everything else we're trying to teach. And so this activity can help, foster and accelerate those friendships and building that trust. And maybe then later on, when something is more daunting and you have a partner where they're not best friends, but one is really proficient at a skill, maybe they can then teach the other person. And it's not seen as a threatening thing because we've already practiced teaching one another silly party tricks or trivia or jokes, that we've created this space where the relationship can be for peer-to-peer learning. And we've destigmatized what it looks like, because it might be skill, but everybody has value, right? We've already talked about how everybody has unique talents and skills. And we've shared that we want everybody to be able to feel comfortable displaying those. But if you're not comfortable leading these debriefs all on your own, every activity in Kikori has them written out, but there's no debrief police. So you can either use them or not. And maybe all you needed was a spark to say, oh, I know how I need to ask this to get my students to think about this in a new way. And that's what Kikori is here for. And so all of these different debrief choices in this particular activity, you can see here, if you're playing this to focus on the superhero, do this for a reflection. If you're doing this to focus on mixing, do this for the reflection. If you're doing this to focus on having fun and not worrying about the outcome, use this reflection. And if you do something that we haven't captured on the platform, I want to hear it. I want to integrate it, and I want to help other educators find value in your success so that we are not all continuing to make the same mistakes. The whole point of Kikori is to capture our collective intelligence, and elevate one another, to celebrate one another, and really to help kids benefit from that learning and create a fun environment to teach social and emotional learning skills that we know that the world needs. And so if I can find you again, share my screen, go back to here, share. What I will say is that Kikori has over 1,000 activities, and they come from luminaries and leaders in the field. So it's not just me and it's not just Haley writing stuff down, but it comes from published authors. But you don't have to just be a published author, because we know that educators are doing amazing things. And sometimes books can feel two-dimensional and inaccessible. And our mission is to democratize access. And so elevating all of that here on this digital platform. But regardless of who has submitted the Kikori activity, every single activity goes through a vetting process with our team to make sure that it's published to a certain high standard, so that an educator can use it and align it with social emotional learning goals as defined by CASEL, 21st century skills, or UNESCO's sustainable development goals. Every single activity, again, regardless of whose idea it was the first time it was played, follows the experiential learning cycle, because we know that research supports that learning social emotional learning through play is adopted so much faster. You can tell somebody 100 times, you can show them 20 times, but if they learn it through play, it takes exponentially fewer repetitions for them to embody that skill. So to play, reflect, connect, and then grow is our eSEL method. And they all have the reflections. And again, maybe you are so good at debriefing, but sometimes there's those of us who aren't and just need either it fully scripted out or just a couple of bullet points, and you can take what you need and debrief to get the outcome that you're looking for. People have so graciously allowed us to quote them. They've said nice things about us, and this is an opportunity for you as well to know that we can bring Kikori to your school or program. So we offer individual sales, group sales, school-wide and district-wide opportunities. And there are people who have said that they appreciated that. But sharing is caring, and a zero-cost way to support us is to like, comment, follow, share, and do all of the things that feel really infomercially when I say them. But it is true that there are people in your life that will see you liking and commenting or sharing something on their newsfeed, and that could make a difference, not just with our company, but the participants, the students, the youth that they work with. And we would love that opportunity to be able to reach more kids. So we have a new this school year, we're calling it a professional learning community as opposed to a game night. And hopefully Haley will drop the link in the chat, but the professional learning community is for educators. It's a less formal webinar, but it is an opportunity for us to come together as a community, talk about Kikori activities on the monthly calendar, the ones that I've talked about in the webinars, what worked, what didn't work, what ideas do you need? Do you want to practice facilitating something? We are a safe group to practice facilitating. But it is a space for us grown-ups. For any of you who may or may not have been there, we did have somebody drop their kid off in our webinar. That wasn't the intended service, but man, oh man, did that kid have a bunch of educators at their disposal to just be their captive audience. But a professional learning community outside of your organization of like-minded educators, and we would love for that opportunity. So that is my webinar right at the top of the hour. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording, but I want to thank you all for being here, and I'll be around for questions or comments or accolades, haikus, and interpretive dances.